An official good morning to everyone. My name is Jackie Johnson, and I am delighted to be with you again. Welcome to the Mind the Moment Tuesday morning gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. It's lovely to be with. I'm seeing lots of good mornings. A warm welcome to anyone who may be here for the first time. And of course, a very warm welcome to those of you regulars who try to be with us on a fairly consistent basis. It's really great to be with you and to be part of this community. So as we do, I will share a few thoughts as we begin this morning, and then we will go into a 12 to 15-minute guided meditation practice and save time at the end for questions. So if you would open up the chat at the bottom of the screen and just be sure that the drop-down menu reads everyone, so that if you add a comment or a question, it's visible to the whole community. So let's take a moment to arrive with a couple of intentional deep breaths. And just taking a moment to notice the buzz of life as it is right now. And that might include sounds, sensations. You may be noticing sounds outside. I'm hearing lots of birds here. And some of what you may be noticing in this morning buzz may seem really lovely and delightful. And you may also be aware of things that you wish were otherwise. Just notice how you're meeting whatever comes into your awareness. And in our practice this morning, I'd like to emphasize the part of the practice that's about training the heart. We talk a lot about this as a practice of training the mind, and it's really training both the mind and the heart. I think of it as the sort of what and the how, what we're paying attention to, and being aware of what we're paying attention to, and also the how we are meeting the moment, how we're attending, what the quality is of our relationship to whatever's arising. The Dalai Lama said, "Be kind whenever possible." It's always possible. So I wonder, as you hear those words, what comes to mind for you? When is that easy? When is it more challenging? So if anybody wants to just share just sort of what emerged with these words. Be kind whenever possible. It's always possible. Is it? When I'm in a rush, it's more challenging. Yes. Yes, I love that, Julia. Absolutely. Sometimes it takes a pause before it can happen. Yes, Susan. So that's exactly what this is all about, right? We're building that muscle through the formal practice we do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after the practice. But we're really building that muscle so that during the day, we have that ability to pause, to take just one breath, perhaps, and to stop the rush and to really make that choice about how we meet the moment. Sheila said, when I'm afraid or in pain, it's hard. Yeah. Yeah. Such great noticing that when we're afraid, when we're in pain, that kind of contraction happens that we can also notice in our practice. We talk a lot here about noticing when the mind has wandered, what happens to the body, and softening the body. And through softening the body, we also sort of soften the mind. Maria said, it's easy with people we like, but more difficult with those who irritate us. Yeah. Absolutely. And what happens when we have that difficulty, when we have that difficulty being kind, and maybe our response is not so kind. And so, what's the chain that's set off by that? Janice said, have heard that quote many times, and this is the first time I've thought of being kind to myself, which takes intention most of the time. Yeah, it's beautiful. And so that's exactly why we're doing this practice and why we're training the heart along with the mind, because it's much more difficult to be kind to others if we're not being kind to ourselves. I think for most of us in most circumstances, it really begins here. And through that kindness toward ourselves, we're able to see that our own difficult experiences are typically common experiences. So, thank you all for these wonderful comments, and we'll continue it. This seems a great time to move into practice with that. So why don't I'm going to suggest that you find the most comfortable posture right now, and just sort of notice if the body needs any movement to settle in from whatever's come before so far this morning. And I'll offer some guidance. So if anybody's new, there will be some guidance at the beginning and at a few points through the practice. And we'll also have some periods of silence. So settling into whatever best supports your body right now in feeling that blend of wakefulness and also invites in relaxation and ease. And again, if it's helpful, taking a couple of deeper than normal breaths. And if you're feeling at all unsettled or anxious this morning, it might be helpful to lengthen and pay particular attention to the exhalation. And allowing the eyes to close if that feels right, or casting the gaze downward away from the screen in a way that invites more of an inward focus. And noticing the rhythm of the breath. Might even feel like you can kind of ride the waves of the breath in a way that's natural and soothing. No need to change or control the breath in any way. I want to invite you to bring to mind an act of kindness or generosity, one where you were perhaps the recipient, or one where you were the giver, where you did something kind or generous. And this doesn't need to be anything big or grand. It might be as simple as holding the door for someone and making eye contact with them. It might be a moment when you were on the road in a difficult merge and made space for someone else to enter. Could be a time where you've given your time or your energy to another. And notice where you feel that in the body. Notice sensations that arise, perhaps sensations like warmth, softening, or opening. And that act of kindness or generosity may evoke an image that you can bring to mind through the practice, or it may be just this bodily sensation or combination of sensations. Really inviting and allowing that to suffuse throughout the body. And even to radiate out beyond the body if that feels right. And we're not denying anything about present conditions, just welcoming these sensations and images with whatever is here. Everything's included. And if you find it helpful, if at any point the sensations or the image is fading, you can play with kind of rekindling, reigniting with a word or two if that's helpful. Perhaps on the in-breath, the word happy, or may you be happy, or be happy. And on the exhalation might be peaceful. And those words can be directed at yourself as we try and evoke a sense of kindness toward ourselves. Or if it's easier and more natural in this moment, you can direct those words to someone else or to others. And each time you notice that the mind is lost in thought, as it will be, gently returning with kindness. Be happy. Be peaceful. this. Keep it simple and easy. And in the last minute of practice, again, just noticing where the attention is and noticing the quality of that attention. And if it's possible to, again, just really vitalize that feeling of kindness, of warmth, of generosity. And as we bring the practice to a close, may we all be happy. May we all be peaceful. And may the deepest wisdom and love guide and protect us all. And as you're ready, slowly bringing some movement back into the body, allowing the eyes to open if they've been closed and taking in that space around you. Thank you all for your practice. So I'd love to invite everybody to feel free to share in the chat. If you have questions, if there's anything you'd like to share about your experience of practice, what you're noticing this morning, a favorite poem, book, or resource, as always. I think it's fair to say that we all want to be happy and peaceful. And certainly if that doesn't feel true for you, I'd love to hear thoughts about that and how we relate to the moment, how we relate to ourselves, getting back to Janice's comment. It really sets in motion what's to follow. I know for those of you that are regulars here, you've heard this before. The mind is the forerunner to action. And so as we're building this muscle of awareness, we're also noticing what's helpful, what leads to more peace in our lives, what leads us to be able to bring more of this warmth and kindness and friendliness to others, and what leads to more stress. And I truly think that this is what helps us to live in alignment with our highest values. We're learning to practice noticing what's here, noticing what's happening in the mind, and learning to pause. And when we notice that there's discomfort of some kind, which there's bound to be, we ultimately have two choices, is the way I see it. We can change our circumstances to alleviate discomfort. So an example would be if you're sitting in a way that suddenly you've got a kink somewhere or a pain, and you can make a simple movement to alleviate that. That's a fine option to choose. And we can also choose in that moment, or if there is no way to change the circumstance, to notice what our relationship is and to work with and perhaps change our relationship to what's arising. Yeah, Janice said, reminded how much of a practice this practice is more and more. Yeah, certainly not a one and done, Janice, right? I mean, this is a lifetime of practice. Yeah, Sheila said that's excellent. So I'd love to hear if people have thoughts about how to bring this more into the day, because I think we can do this in ways that are also playful and fun. We can, excuse me, notice generosity and kindness in conversation with others. Notice if we're being pulled to multitask and how we can really give our attention fully as a generous act. We can walk down the street and use those words, happy and peaceful, as wishes for people or for animals or for any beings that we pass. And we can sort of just notice the people that we might not really see when we're out on a walk or in a store, and the generosity of seeing people. Lynn said, at first I thought my mind was too busy to settle, but within a few minutes and reflecting on a time of giving, I was able to settle in. Thank you. That's great. In our current climate, I'm learning to be aware, to notice what triggers me on the news and social media. I can choose to limit my triggers and can bring compassion to our world leaders. Even if I do not agree with them, I have choices. That is liberating. Yeah, I concur, Julia. Not always easy, and I think it's huge. I know there's a quote about forgiveness, and that if we choose not to forgive the way in which we're injuring ourselves, feel free, if anybody remembers that quote, to share it. Teresa, I had a kind of irritated practice this morning. It helped when you said we have the choice to notice our relationship to what is happening when we feel discomfort. Yeah, I'm glad that was helpful, and certainly something we can practice throughout the day. I know that when I have discomfort in my body, what happens very easily is a kind of contracting and not liking that. And what comes of that? More discomfort, more contraction, more tightening. So that's a very visceral reminder of what happens in the mind, I think, more broadly as well. Barbara Fredrickson has great free videos, papers online on how small, kind acts impact health and mood. Yes, thank you, Janice. That's wonderful. That's great. So we're coming to the end of our time together. If anybody has a last resource to share, feel free to post. And a reminder that we will be back with you tomorrow and again on Thursday morning. And I look forward to seeing you all again. It's been really wonderful to be with this community this morning. And I wish everybody a wonderful day. Thank you for your kind attention.